think of surgeons as these masters of the scalpel, right? Making split-second, life-or-death decisions with incredible technical skill. But what if their hardest moments have absolutely nothing to do with where they make the cut? Today, we're diving into the hidden ethical battles that happen in every single operating room. Yeah, just think about that for a second. When you picture a surgeon standing over a patient, what do you think is their toughest choice? Is it some really tricky technical move? A super complex procedure? Well, it turns out the most agonizing decisions are often not technical at all. They're ethical. They're all about what's right, what's good, and what's fair. And trust me, the answers are almost never clear. All right, so let's start right there. In those moments of deep uncertainty, the calls that go way beyond what you can find in any medical textbook. Even surgeons at the absolute top of their game, they find themselves questioning the best and correct way to move forward. And this isn't because they don't know enough. It's just the nature of medicine itself, where cold, hard medical facts smash right into human values. So how on earth do they navigate all of this? Well, to handle all that, they've got this incredible toolkit, a set of guiding principles designed to bring at least a little bit of clarity to these unbelievably complex situations. And get this, what's kind of shocking is just how new all of this is. The actual term bioethics was only created back in 1970, and the four main principles that are used every day, they weren't really locked in until 1994. We're not talking about some ancient philosophy here. This is a modern field for modern medical challenges. Okay, so here it is. This is the moral toolkit we're talking about. First up, respect for autonomy. Basically, you, the patient, get to call the shots. Second, non-maleficence. This is the famous one. First, do no harm. Third, we have beneficence, which is the duty to actively do good. And last, there's justice, which is all about making sure things are distributed fairly. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, of course, there's always a catch. Think of these principles like a compass, not a map. They'll point a surgeon in the general right direction, but they don't give you a clean, simple answer. They're meant to be the start of a really tough conversation, definitely not the end of it. And this is where things get really interesting, because these principles are great, but the absolute hardest dilemmas come up when they directly contradict each other. Okay, let's take a real-world example. HIV testing in a hospital. The principle of beneficence, doing good for everyone, the public, the hospital staff, that would argue for mandatory testing. But at the same time, the principle of autonomy says that any patient has the absolute right to say no. So you see the problem? One principle protects the group, the other protects the individual. What is a doctor supposed to do there? And, it gets even more complicated when we move away from a specific test to a really fundamental question: what even is quality of life? A surgeon can do a technically flawless operation, but if it leaves the patient with a life they themselves don't feel is worth living, was that really a success? And on this huge question, you basically have two completely different ways of looking at it. The subjectivist view says quality of life is totally personal, it's about meeting your own standards, and your right to choose is the most important thing. But the universalist view argues that all innocent human life is sacred, period, no matter what a person's physical condition is. A surgeon is right there, in the middle of these deep philosophical waters, with every single patient. So, as if all that wasn't tricky enough, these timeless ethical debates are all happening inside a modern pressure cooker, with all these new forces that make a surgeon's job tougher than it has ever been. Just think about what a surgeon deals with today. New tech means more treatment options, which actually means more hard choices. Then there's the economic pressure to cut costs, which can put a patient's health in conflict with the hospital's budget. On top of that, patients expect miracles, and they're way more likely to sue if things go wrong. And all the while, the surgeon's own freedom to make decisions is shrinking as more outside voices get involved. And all of this has a really direct and kind of dangerous consequence. The fear of getting sued can lead to something called defensive medicine, where doctors might order tests or procedures not because the patient needs them, but just to protect themselves legally. And that just eats away at the trust that is so crucial in that doctor-patient relationship. So what all this really tells us is that being a great surgeon means mastering way more than just a scalpel. It takes two totally different but equally vital ways of thinking.
Okay, so on one side, you've got what's called action ethics. This is the classic, what should I do mode. It's about facing a dilemma, making a choice, and being able to justify it. But then there's the other side of the coin, relational ethics. This asks a totally different question. How should I be? This is all about the human stuff, compassion, relationships, and respect for the person in front of you.
And really, that's the whole point. Being a great surgeon isn't about picking one or the other. It's about blending them perfectly. It's having that brilliant technical skill to know exactly what to do and the deep humanity to know how to be for that person on the operating table. So, I guess I'll just leave you with this thought. As our medical technology gets more and more powerful, as we're able to do these incredible things to the human body, how do we make sure we're always caring for the person and not just treating the patient?